Well, I'm sure that you've heard that all it takes to have a successful garden is sunshine, water, and time. And I have to tell you, I'm definitely learning the lesson that gardening takes patience, and it's teaching me that in more than one area of my life. So I'm Emily from Chasing Simple, and I hope you'll join me today as I talk through what I'm learning as I'm cultivating a green thumb about having patience. Well, our garden as a whole is really an exercise in patience because really the reason that we are doing raised beds and that I kind of started with gardening last year in more of a trial type of way is that we're delaying our landscaping until we've accomplished some of our financial goals. And certainly doing the raised beds has not been an entirely free project. We've invested in the raised beds, but it's been significantly less expensive than landscaping, and raised beds will be part of the landscape plan as a whole. So this is a way for me to enjoy some color and life in my garden in the meantime for perhaps several years until we really do formal landscaping to our home. And it has been so life-giving to do a garden. I enjoyed it so much last year, and already I've had so many things come up in my raised beds, and I can tell that the raised beds are going to be even more successful than my quick in-ground gardening adventure last year. And you can hear more about that in my Chatty Garden Plans video, which I'll link up above if you'd like to kind of hear more about what I'm doing this year and also what I did last year as I tried out gardening really for the first time and found out that I have been entirely bitten by the gardening bug. So I think that one of the things that I wanted to do this year was, even though I was investing in the raised beds and in the soil for the raised beds, I really wanted to try to keep the actual plants pretty inexpensive. And that goes both for the items that are in the raised beds themselves, but then also the things that are in my pots and containers that I have out on my porch just to kind of look beautiful. And, I think in our world, we're just so used to instant gratification that we're just not cultivating patience anymore. I know I'm certainly not. I've been told several times that I'm patient relationally, but I don't think I've ever been told I'm patient, like as a character quality. And, that's something that I would really like to cultivate. And I can tell that I am just in this simple practice of gardening. And so I decided to try winter sowing. I didn't know anything about it, but I watched a couple YouTube videos and planted up 45 milk jugs full of seeds. And, really, I think I spent about $70 total on seeds. And I've had awesome success. And I should just say that I don't think there's really any reason that you should need to spend $70. There were some things that I purchased by the ounce instead of by the seed packet because I really wasn't sure like how many I would need, and I didn't really trust that like the germination rate would be decent in the seeds. And it's too bad seeds don't really keep. Let's just say that, because I could plant up my entire neighborhood with yarrow and zinnia and snapdragon seeds because an ounce of those seeds is an absolutely phenomenal amount. So learn from me, don't do what I did, and you can probably spend half of that on seeds. I mean, I have like nursery quality starts or mini starts coming out of those jugs right now, and it has been so gratifying to open them up and just feel like, wow, I grew this. And, really with very little effort and then also with very little cost. And so it's been super fun. And I did go to the nursery and kind of fill in the gaps for things that I needed to complete things, like anything that didn't do great in the containers, like the jugs. Then I did fill those things in. But this year I spent like $45 on anything that I needed from the nursery for all of the things that I needed to fill in. And last year, I mean, I don't remember how much I spent on actual garden starts. But I do remember that on my containers, it was like $400. I remember being shocked at the register. And so I definitely just feel like I'm really saving money. And one of the ways that I did that this year is by having two of my containers have great big ferns in them. I learned about Kimberly Queen ferns from another YouTuber and found out that they like sun and that they kind of have an upright growth habit. And one of our grocery stores, and maybe yours does too, this is a Kroger store, does Boston ferns and Kimberly Queen ferns for like $15 or even $12 for some of them this time of year. And I just think that is nuts because when you go to the nursery, they're $45 just for a fern. And you can overwinter ferns too, and then divide them and have lots of ferns the following year. So ferns are amazing, but I decided to do that just to kind of give a lot of impact. And then other than that, most of my containers really are just things that I started in the jugs. And so it's not really that gratifying to plant them like it is when you use nursery starts because you don't have the flowers already in place. You can't see the size of the decorative grass that's going to be the thriller in your pot. You can't see that the verbena is going to kind of drape and be the spiller. I mean, you just don't have enough size on anything to really know exactly what it's going to look like. And everything in me wants instant gratification and wants to just go buy $400 worth of plants from the nursery. But truth be told, I'm just learning so much about the daily tending in my garden, the wonderful practice of just going outside and watering my plants and getting to see day by day everything kind of putting a little bit more life and green on it, more size. And I know that probably by mid-June, these containers are going to be very filled out and they'll be really a mark of my patience. It's easy to stuff the containers super full and it's harder to wait for that petunia to spread and go ahead and fill up the container, but it will if you just will have patience. And so that's what I'm learning. I'm learning to be patient and to trust the process. And I'm so excited to have such a tangible example of that in my life because certainly I need it and maybe you do too. So get your hands dirty this spring and enjoy some time in your yard, and whether that's with a single pot or with a whole gardening setup like I'm doing, or maybe you have something way more grand than I do, just really delight in the lesson that is to be learned from that. And maybe there's something that you're waiting for in your life right now that feels just like you are having to be so patient for an unknown result. And I know how difficult it is to wait in seasons like that. And so let this just be a beautiful, natural reminder that there is so much beauty in the wait and so much to be achieved in your own heart in that too. So I hope that these thoughts have been helpful and encouraging to you and that you too will grow in patience this summer as you delight in your own growing space. And I hope that if you've enjoyed this video that you'll take a minute to like it and to subscribe to my channel for more musings like this, but also homemaking content that will encourage you as you do your own homemaking as well.